I noticed something strange on my wife Amanda's phone that day. A message from someone called Davis Legal discussing divorce strategy. My heart sank as I realized our 7-year marriage might be in danger. I built my software company from nothing, working 80-hour weeks, while ensuring Amanda enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle in our suburban Chicago home. I never imagined she would be planning to leave me, let alone plotting to take everything I had built. Before I tell you how I discovered Amanda's scheme, drop a comment letting me know which state you are watching from and hit subscribe to follow more stories about betrayed loyalty and how I turned the tables on someone who tried to take advantage of my trust. When I first met Amanda at a charity fundraiser in downtown Chicago, I was immediately captivated by her warm smile and engaging conversation. She worked for a nonprofit organization at the time, and her passion for helping others drew me in. After 2 years of dating, we tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and family. I was 29, she was 27, and we were madly in love, or so I thought. I had just started gaining traction with my software company, developing specialized programs for healthcare providers. The business required tremendous dedication, often pulling me away from home for 12 to 14 hours a day. Amanda supported my ambitions, at least outwardly, understanding that my hard work would eventually lead to financial security for both of us. As the years passed, my company grew exponentially. We moved from our modest apartment to a luxurious home in Highland Park, one of the most affluent suburbs north of Chicago. Our 5-bedroom house with a swimming pool and 3-car garage symbolized the success I had achieved through countless sleepless nights and sacrificed weekends. Throughout our marriage, I had always been transparent about our finances. Amanda had complete access to all our bank accounts, investments, and company information. I never considered a prenuptial agreement because I trusted her completely. We were partners in life, and I wanted her to feel secure in our shared future. For 7 years, our arrangement worked well. Amanda decorated our home beautifully and organized dinner parties for clients and business associates. She volunteered at local charities and took yoga classes. She rarely showed interest in the financial details of my business, saying she trusted me to handle that aspect of our lives, until things began to change. The first subtle shift I noticed was her sudden interest in our finances. Out of nowhere, Amanda began asking detailed questions about my company valuation, stock options, and investment portfolio. She wanted to know exactly how much money we had and in which accounts. She inquired about property values and retirement funds. At first, I was pleased by her interest. I had always wanted her to be more involved in our financial planning, so I answered all her questions openly and honestly. I even suggested she meet with our financial advisor to better understand our portfolio. What struck me as odd was the timing. Why, after 7 years of marriage, did she suddenly care about these details? Still, I dismissed my concerns, attributing her newfound interest to maturity and forward thinking. Then came the secretive phone calls. Amanda began taking calls in empty rooms with the door closed. If I walked in, she would quickly end the conversation or change her tone. When I asked who was calling so frequently, she would casually mention friends or family members. Her phone and laptop passwords changed without explanation. When I mentioned that I could not access her laptop to print concert tickets as I had done before, she became defensive, saying she valued her privacy. The frequency of her unexplained outings increased dramatically. Lunches with friends turned into all-day affairs, with vague explanations about where she had been. Shopping trips resulted in few purchases. Appointments had no specific purpose when I asked about them. Our intimacy cooled considerably. Amanda no longer greeted me with a kiss when I came home. Physical affection became rare, and when it happened, it felt mechanical and obligatory. Conversations grew shorter, less engaging, more transactional. One evening, Amanda approached me with an unusual request that triggered my suspicions more than anything previous. "I was thinking we should transfer the house into my name," she said casually as we ate dinner. "For tax purposes." I nearly choked on my food. Tax purposes. What tax advantage would that give us? She waved her hand dismissively. "My friend Jennifer did it with their properties. Something about income distribution and liability protection. I can have her explain it to you." The request made absolutely no sense from a financial or legal standpoint, and Amanda had never shown interest in tax strategy before. This was when my internal alarm bells started ringing loudly. The following weekend, While reviewing our credit card statements, I noticed several charges from a legal office I did not recognize. When I asked Amanda about them, she claimed they were donations to a legal aid clinic through her friend Sarah. The explanation seemed plausible, yet something felt off. My suspicions grew stronger when I accidentally overheard a phone conversation while working from home one day. Amanda was in our bedroom with the door partially open, unaware of my presence in the hallway. "We need to be careful about how we approach the asset division," she said in a hushed tone. "He has no idea what is coming." My blood ran cold. Asset division. Who was she talking to? Later that night, I checked the browsing history on our shared computer after Amanda went to bed. What I found confirmed my worst fears. Recent searches included most favorable divorce states, how to maximize divorce settlement, and hiding assets before divorce. She had also researched several prominent divorce attorneys in Chicago. When I ran into her friend Sarah at a grocery store the following week, her behavior was telling. She could barely look me in the eye, mumbling awkward small talk before hurrying away. Sarah had been Amanda's confidant for years. If Amanda was planning something, Sarah would know about it. I spent several sleepless nights wrestling with what to do. Part of me wanted to confront Amanda immediately, but my intuition told me to wait and learn more. If she truly was planning to blindside me with divorce papers, I needed to understand exactly what I was facing. The thought that the woman I loved and supported for 7 years could be plotting against me was almost unbearable. I had built my business not just for myself, but for us, for our future family. The idea that she saw our relationship as merely a financial opportunity made me physically ill. I began to question everything about our relationship. Had she ever loved me? Was our entire marriage a calculated plan to eventually take half or more of what I had built? The woman who slept beside me had become a stranger, possibly an enemy, planning my financial demise. Despite my growing anxiety, I maintained a calm facade. I continued to come home at regular hours, engage in normal conversations, and go through the motions of our daily routine, all while my mind raced with questions, fears, and gradually plans for self-protection. The definitive evidence came on a Tuesday afternoon. Amanda had left her iPad on the kitchen counter, the same iPad that automatically synced with her iPhone emails. I had never invaded her privacy before, but the stakes were too high now. My financial future and the company I had built from nothing were at risk. I opened her email and found exactly what I had feared. A folder labeled DL Consultation contained dozens of emails between Amanda and Davis Legal, a firm specializing in high-asset divorces. The most recent email had the subject line, Timing Strategy Confirmation. My hands shook as I opened the message. The attorney Thomas Davis advised Amanda to wait until the optimal timing window to file for divorce. They discussed the benefits of catching the spouse unprepared and securing maximum leverage through temporary control of joint assets. Attached documents included a comprehensive list of all my assets, including company valuation estimates, property holdings, and investment accounts. Amanda had been meticulously documenting our wealth for months. There were even notes about my work schedule, business trips, and personal habits. Most disturbing were the recorded arguments she had saved, some dating back years. Minor disagreements that I had long forgotten had been preserved and categorized as evidence of emotional distress and neglect. The recordings were edited to remove context, making me sound controlling and unreasonable. The ultimate goal, clearly stated in the emails, was for Amanda to secure 75% of our assets plus lifetime alimony. Her attorney advised her to file when the company completed an upcoming acquisition, which would significantly increase its value. I sat at the kitchen counter for hours, emails still open on the screen, trying to process the betrayal. 7 years of marriage reduced to a financial transaction. Every memory now tainted by the question, was this part of her plan all along? That night I barely slept. Images of our wedding day contrasted with screenshots of cold, calculating emails planning my financial ruin. The woman sleeping peacefully beside me was a stranger, an adversary preparing for battle. The next morning I called in sick to work for the first time in years. When Amanda left for her yoga class, I made an appointment with James Wilson, a respected divorce attorney recommended by my business partner. James listened carefully to my story and reviewed the copies I had made of Amanda's emails. His face grew increasingly grave. Unfortunately, this is not uncommon in high-asset divorces, he explained. Based on what you have shown me, she is timing the filing to maximize her potential settlement. In our state, after 10 years of marriage, the likelihood of permanent alimony increases substantially. What can I do? I asked, my voice hollow. You need to protect yourself legally without tipping her off that you know about her plans, James advised. We need to implement asset protection strategies that are completely legal, but will make it more difficult for her to claim the majority of your business assets. Over the next week, I followed James's advice meticulously. I opened new bank accounts at different financial institutions and began transferring reasonable amounts of money into them. Not emptying our joint accounts, which would be illegal, but ensuring I had access to operating funds if Amanda tried to freeze accounts. I consulted with my business attorney to restructure company ownership, placing portions into properly formed trusts and limited liability companies that would be protected in a divorce proceeding. Every move was legal, ethical, and designed not to hide assets, but to ensure fair distribution rather than the lopsided outcome Amanda and her attorney planned. I gathered evidence systematically backing up emails, recording, keeping careful notes of unusual behavior or conversations. James emphasized the importance of documentation and maintaining a record of all financial transactions to counter any accusations of impropriety. Throughout this process, I maintained a normal routine with Amanda. I agreed to discuss her idea about transferring the house to her name, but suggested we talk to financial advisors first. I continued to transfer our usual monthly allowance into our joint account, but reduced automatic transfers into investments she could easily access. When she mentioned renovating our vacation property in Michigan, I enthusiastically agreed while knowing I had already protected that asset through a family LLC. When she suggested inviting her parents to stay with us for a month next year, I played along, aware that she had no intention of still being married by then. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. Eating dinner across from someone plotting your downfall requires extraordinary self-control. Smiling and discussing weekend plans with someone who has already calculated how much of your life's work they plan to take demands emotional fortitude I did not know I possessed. Every time Amanda casually asked about the upcoming business acquisition or my recent meeting with investors, I recognized the information gathering for what it was. Each question had a purpose, each conversation, a potential piece of evidence or intelligence for her attorney. During this time, my emotional state oscillated between profound sadness and cold determination. The love I had felt for Amanda was dying, replaced by a resolve to protect what I had built through years of sacrifice and hard work. I mourned not just the end of my marriage, but the death of trust. Would I ever be able to fully trust another person again? Had my judgment been so flawed that I could not recognize deception in my own home? These questions haunted me as I methodically prepared for the battle ahead. 2 weeks after I had moved and protected my assets, Amanda initiated what she clearly thought would be the beginning of the end. She suggested a nice dinner at our favorite restaurant, ordered an expensive bottle of wine, and waited until dessert to deliver her prepared speech. Ev and I have been doing a lot of thinking about us, she began, her voice carefully modulated to sound sad, but resolved. I do not think we are growing in the same direction anymore. I think we should consider separating. I feigned surprise, asking questions about where this was coming from and whether we could work things out. She had prepared for this, explaining how she had tried for years to make our marriage work, how my focus on business had left her emotionally abandoned, how she had given up so much for my career. I have already spoken with an attorney, she continued, dropping the pretense of a mutual decision. I think we can make this amicable if we both cooperate. I will be filing papers this week. I nodded slowly, playing my part. I see. This is very sudden for me. I will need to process this. The next day, her attorney filed for divorce, requesting temporary control of all our assets, exclusive use of our home, and immediate financial support pending final settlement. Standard aggressive tactics in a high-asset divorce. 3 days later, the real drama began. Amanda stormed into the house after meeting with her attorney, her face flushed with anger. What did you do? She demanded, throwing her handbag onto the counter. Where is the money? What happened to the investment accounts? I looked up calmly from my laptop. What are you talking about? Do not play dumb with me, she shouted. Thomas says large portions of our assets have been moved or restructured. The accounts are not showing the balances they should. What did you do with our money? The word "our" hung in the air between us. After years of building my company, while she showed no interest in the business now, it was suddenly our money. I have not done anything illegal, I replied truthfully. All assets are disclosed and accounted for. They are just structured differently for business purposes. Her face contorted with rage. You knew. You somehow knew I was filing, and you moved things around to cheat me out of what I deserve. What exactly do you deserve, Amanda? I asked quietly. 75% of everything I built. Lifetime alimony. The carefully timed divorce filing to maximize your settlement. Her expression shifted from anger to shock as she realized I knew about her plan. You went through my private emails. You invaded my privacy, yes, I admitted. After finding searches for divorce attorneys on our shared computer, overhearing your phone calls about asset division, and watching you document our finances after years of showing no interest. Yes, I looked at your emails. Amanda switched tactics instantly, tears filling her eyes. I cannot believe you would violate my trust like that. This is exactly why our marriage is failing, because you are controlling and suspicious. Save the performance, I said. I have copies of all the emails between you and Thomas Davis. I know you have been planning this for months, recording our conversations, waiting for the right time to blindside me and take as much as possible. The judge will be very interested to see the email where you discuss, and I quote, catching him with his pants down financially. Her attorney called mine the next day, outraged about illegal movement of assets and threatening additional legal action. James calmly explained that everything had been done above board, all assets were properly disclosed, and any claims of impropriety would be vigorously defended with evidence of Amanda's premeditated plan. The temporary hearing was a turning point. Amanda's attorney requested emergency control of all financial accounts, claiming I had been hiding assets. When my attorney presented email evidence of their strategic planning, including the detailed timeline for filing and Amanda's own words about waiting until after the business acquisition, the judge's expression changed. Noticeably. Mr. Davis, the judge addressed her attorney. These emails suggest your client has been planning this divorce with very specific financial goals in mind. It appears she was timing the filing to maximize financial gain rather than addressing irreconcilable differences. The request for emergency control of assets was denied. Instead, the judge ordered maintenance of the status quo, with both parties receiving reasonable living expenses from joint accounts while the case proceeded. Outside the courtroom, Thomas Davis approached James with a significantly revised settlement proposal. The demands for 75% of assets and lifetime alimony had been reduced to a much more reasonable division. James told them we would consider the offer. That evening, Amanda's friend Sarah called me unexpectedly. After awkwardly dancing around the subject, she finally admitted feeling guilty about her role in Amanda's plan. She has been planning this for almost 2 years, Sarah confessed. She said you were always working, and she deserved compensation for supporting your career. But Evan, there is something else you should know. Sarah hesitated before continuing. Amanda has been seeing someone else, a tax attorney she met at a fundraiser last year. He has been advising her on the divorce strategy. I am sorry I should have told you sooner. The final confrontation happened the next evening when Amanda came to collect more of her clothes. She had been staying at a friend's house since the temporary hearing. Why did you do it? I asked, as she packed a suitcase in our bedroom. Was anything real between us? She paused, then turned to face me with an expression I had never seen before, cold and calculating. I loved you at first, she said flatly, but you were always working, always at the office or on your phone. The company became your real wife. I became an accessory to your success story. So that justifies planning to take most of what I built. I contributed by supporting your career, she countered. I gave up my own opportunities. I played the role of the perfect wife for your business dinners and client events. That deserves compensation. And the timing. Waiting until after the acquisition. A slight smile crossed her face. That was just smart planning. Why would I leave money on the table? And Thomas Williams, the tax attorney you have been seeing. Her eyes widened slightly before narrowing. Sarah has a big mouth. Tom and I connected because we think alike. He values me for my mind, not just as arm candy at corporate events. In that moment, looking at this stranger wearing my wife's face, I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. The woman I had loved did not exist, perhaps had never existed. The pain was still there, but now mixed with relief at discovering the truth before more years were wasted. "I will agree to a fair settlement, Amanda," I said quietly, "but not a penny more than what is equitable under the law. Your plan failed. It is time to move on." 2 days after our confrontation, Amanda's attorney contacted James with surprising news. She wanted to withdraw the divorce petition and attempt reconciliation. James immediately called me. "This is a tactical move," he warned. "She has realized her position is weak given the evidence we have. By withdrawing now, she can regroup and potentially file later under more favorable circumstances." I made my decision without hesitation. "Tell them we are proceeding with the divorce. I will file if she withdraws. There is no reconciliation to be had." The divorce was finalized 4 months later. The final settlement was fair with assets divided equitably. Amanda received no alimony, as the judge determined she had the education and capacity to support herself. My business remained intact, though I did buy out her interest in our properties with a cash settlement. The emotional aftermath was more difficult to resolve than the legal battle. For months after the divorce, I struggled with insomnia and trust issues. The betrayal by someone I had loved completely shook my foundation. I questioned my judgment, wondering how I could have been so blind to the deception happening right under my roof. Therapy became an essential part of my healing process. My therapist helped me understand that Amanda's actions reflected her character, not my worth or judgment. We worked through feelings of anger, grief, and eventually toward forgiveness, not for Amanda's sake, but for my own peace of mind. Our shared social circle fragmented after the divorce. Some friends took sides. Others simply drifted away, uncomfortable with the situation. I realized that many of our social relationships had been superficial, based on our status as a successful couple rather than genuine connections. I threw myself into work initially, using the familiar routine of long hours as a shield against dealing with the emotional fallout. My company thrived, completing the acquisition that Amanda had been waiting for, ironically becoming even more valuable after our divorce was finalized. Gradually, I began rebuilding my personal life. I reconnected with old friends who had been neglected during my marriage and made efforts to develop new, authentic relationships. I joined a business owner support group where I met people who understood the entrepreneurial journey and the toll it could take on personal life. A year after the divorce, I decided to use my experience to help others. I established a small foundation providing resources and guidance to entrepreneurs facing divorce, especially those concerned about protecting their businesses. Channeling my painful experience into something positive became an unexpected source of healing. The most profound change was my perspective on success and relationships. I had defined success primarily through financial achievements and business growth. Now I understood that true wealth included trustworthy relationships, inner peace, and purpose beyond accumulation. I dated casually, taking time to truly know someone before becoming emotionally invested. I was more attentive to red flags and inconsistencies, not from paranoia, but from a healthier sense of self-preservation. When I eventually met Jessica, a pediatric surgeon who valued authenticity above all else, I approached the relationship with both openness and wisdom. 2 years after my divorce, I can look back on that painful chapter with unexpected gratitude. Amanda's betrayal, though devastating at the time, freed me from a dishonest relationship and taught me invaluable lessons about myself and others. I learned that intuition deserves respect. The subtle warning signs I had initially dismissed were my subconscious recognizing what my conscious mind was not ready to accept. Now I listen more carefully to that inner voice. I discovered that preparation and emotional control are powerful tools when facing crisis. By managing my reactions and methodically protecting my interests, I prevented a calculated attack from destroying what I had built. Perhaps most importantly, I learned that while financial assets can be protected with legal structures, the heart requires different safeguards. Vulnerability must be balanced with discernment. Trust should be extended, gradually earned through consistent actions rather than promised words. Today, my business continues to thrive. I maintain a healthy relationship with Jessica based on mutual respect and honesty. I no longer fear betrayal, understanding that while I cannot control others' actions, I can respond with integrity to whatever challenges arise. Have you ever had your intuition warn you about someone close to you? What signs did you notice? And did you listen to that inner voice? Share your experience in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to support more content about overcoming life's challenges. Remember, sometimes losing someone who does not truly value you is not a loss at all, but the beginning of a more authentic life. Thank you for listening, and may your own journey be guided by both wisdom and compassion.